Your mind feels like a prison, and somehow you're both the inmate and the warden. You pace the floors of your own skull, replaying conversations from last week, rehearsing arguments that will never happen, and stress-testing futures that don't even exist. This cycle of what-ifs and second-guessing isn't just tiring, it's a thief. It steals your peace, your focus, and your joy, leaving you exhausted before the day has even really begun. You tell yourself you're just being thorough or prepared, but let's be honest, you're not solving anything. You're just stuck. Psychologists call this rumination, an endless loop of thinking that goes nowhere. But what's incredible is that 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosophers of ancient Greece and Rome identified this exact same mental trap. They saw it not as some personal failing, but as a fundamental human challenge. And more importantly, they developed a set of practical, powerful tools to overcome it. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a guy who dealt with plagues, wars, and the crushing weight of an empire, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That single idea is the key to unlocking the cage. It's the foundation for a quiet mind. This isn't about chanting mantras or trying to wish your thoughts away. This is about forging a new relationship with your own mind, using ancient, battle-tested techniques that are as effective today as they were in the bustling streets of ancient Rome. Today, we're breaking down 7 of these Stoic secrets, step by step, to help you finally break free from the cycle of overthinking and reclaim your mental peace. Section 1. Set a time limit for thinking. The first secret sounds almost too simple, but it's a powerful antidote to the poison of endless rumination. Give your thoughts a deadline. Overthinking thrives in limitless space. When you tell yourself you'll think about a problem later, or until you figure it out, you're giving it permission to squat in your mind indefinitely. It refuses to leave and invites all its friends, anxiety, doubt, and fear, to move in too. This is why you find yourself agonizing over a decision for days or even weeks. The longer you think, the more confused you get, and you start inventing ridiculous worst-case scenarios that weren't even on the table when you started. The Stoics, especially Seneca, were masters of efficiency and purpose. They believed our time is the one thing we can never get back, and to spend it in a pointless mental loop was the ultimate waste. So, they inspired a radical solution. Treat your thinking like any other task on your to-do list. Give it a specific, non-negotiable time slot. Here's how to actually do it. The next time a worry takes hold, don't just let it run wild. Instead, schedule a time to deal with it. You might say, okay, I will give myself exactly 20 minutes to think about this after dinner. Or, I'll spend 1 hour Saturday morning on this. When the time comes, set a physical timer. For those 20 minutes, give the problem your full attention. Worry about it, analyze it, explore every angle. But when that timer goes off, you make a decision. Even if it feels imperfect, even if you're only 80% sure, you decide and move on. The goal isn't to find the mythical, flawless answer. That moment of absolute clarity almost never comes. Overthinking isn't really about finding the best decision. It's about avoiding the responsibility of making a decision. By setting a time limit, you force yourself to act. You're training your brain to understand that its job is not to worry endlessly, but to think constructively, and then let you get on with your life. Section 2. Practice negative visualization. All right, for our next technique, I need you to hang with me because it sounds completely backward. To quiet your mind, you need to intentionally think about negative outcomes. This practice, known as premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, was a cornerstone of Stoic training. So much of modern self-help tells us to just think positive. But the Stoics knew that relentless optimism can leave us fragile and totally unprepared for life's inevitable curveballs. Overthinking is often fueled by a deep fear of the unknown. What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if this person leaves me? These fears get their power because we refuse to look at them directly. We let them lurk in the shadows where they grow into terrifying monsters. Negative visualization is the act of dragging those monsters into the light. It's not about being morbid. It's a strategic rehearsal for adversity. As Seneca wrote, "If you would not have a man flinch when the crisis comes, train him before it comes." By calmly thinking about worst-case scenarios, you do two remarkable things. First, you cultivate massive gratitude for what you have right now. When you take a moment to genuinely imagine your life without your health, your home, or a loved one, you stop taking them for granted. That morning coffee, a conversation with a friend, the simple comfort of your bed, they all become more vibrant. You learn to appreciate the present moment because you've reminded yourself it isn't guaranteed. Second, you build incredible psychological resilience. When you mentally walk through a potential hardship, like losing your job, you rob it of its shock value. You can ask yourself, okay, if that happened, what would I do? I'd update my resume. I'd call my contacts. I'd cut my expenses. Suddenly, the vague terror of losing my job transforms into a series of manageable steps. The fear loses its emotional grip because you've already faced it in your mind. Here's a simple way to practice. Each morning, spend a few minutes thinking about the day ahead. What could go wrong? You might get stuck in traffic. A meeting might go poorly. Don't just think about it. Visualize yourself handling it with calm and reason. For bigger fears, set aside time once a week to meditate on a bigger loss. What if a relationship ended? Live through it in your mind, feel the initial sting, and then start planning your response. This isn't pessimism, it's a tool for building an unshakable mind. You're basically immunizing yourself against the shocks of life, so when challenges do arise, you don't spiral. You meet them with the quiet confidence of someone who has already prepared. Section 3. Put your impressions to the test. Our minds are constantly hit with impressions, thoughts, feelings, and judgments. A colleague walks by without saying hello, and your first thought is, "They're angry with me." You make a mistake at work, and the impression is, "I'm definitely getting fired." These instant automatic thoughts are the raw material of overthinking. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we aren't disturbed by events, but by the judgments we make about them. The event itself is neutral. Our interpretation is what causes the suffering. So, the third secret is to never accept your first impression as the truth. You have to challenge it, question it, and put it on trial. Epictetus told his students to greet every harsh impression by saying to it, "You are an impression, and not at all what you appear to be." This creates a crucial pause between the thing that happens and your reaction to it. In that little gap, that's where you find your power. Instead of getting swept away by anxiety, you become a detective, examining the evidence. Here's a practical way to test your impressions. The next time an anxious thought hooks you, ask yourself these 3 questions. First, is this actually true? What's the objective evidence for this thought? If a colleague didn't say hello, what are the other, more likely possibilities? Maybe they were distracted, rushing to a meeting, or had headphones in. The idea that they're mad at you is just one hypothesis out of many, and probably not the most likely one. Second, is this within my control? This is the core Stoic principle we'll dive into next, the dichotomy of control. If the situation is outside your control, like another person's mood or something that already happened, then worrying about it is a complete waste of energy. Your job is to tell that thought, "This is nothing to me." Third, is this thought even helpful? Does obsessing over this lead to a productive action, or does it just create more stress? Anxious thoughts love to disguise themselves as problem-solving, but they rarely produce solutions. They just feed on themselves. By asking if a thought is helpful, you can expose it as an imposter and choose to let it go. Most of our overthinking is based on false or exaggerated impressions. By systematically questioning these thoughts, you're not suppressing them. You're engaging them rationally. You're training your mind to tell the difference between baseless anxiety and a genuine problem that needs action. Over time, this becomes automatic. You build a mental filter that catches distorted thoughts before they can hijack your day. Section 4. Focus on what you can control. This is probably the most famous and fundamental secret in all of Stoic philosophy. The dichotomy of control. It's the master key to a life free from the prison of overthinking. Epictetus laid it out with perfect clarity. Some things are up to us, and others are not. Within our control are our opinions, our motivations, our choices, our actions. Basically, anything that is our own doing. Outside of our control is pretty much everything else. Our body, our property, what other people think of us, and their actions. The only things you have total command over are your own judgments and choices. Overthinking is almost always a result of one simple error: trying to control the uncontrollable. We worry about what others think of us, even though their opinions are entirely their own. We agonize over past mistakes, even though the past is unchangeable. We stress about the future, even though it's completely uncertain. We pour all our mental energy into a black hole, and that's what creates anxiety and frustration. The Stoic solution is to perform a kind of mental triage. Every time you find yourself spiraling into worry, you have to pause and ask that life-changing question: is this in my control? Draw a clear line in the sand. On one side, list the things you can't control: the traffic, the weather, a rude comment, the final outcome of a project. Your job is to practice acceptance toward this list. This isn't giving up. It's the strategic decision to stop fighting battles you can't win. On the other side, list what you can control: your effort on the project, your response to the rude comment, your decision to leave early for traffic, your attitude about the rain, your thoughts, your actions. This side is where 100% of your focus should go. Take a job interview. You can't control if the interviewer likes you or who the other candidates are. Worrying about those things is useless. But you can control how well you prepare, the research you do, how you articulate your skills, and the questions you ask. By shifting your entire focus to your own actions, you move from a state of passive anxiety to one of proactive engagement. You're no longer a victim of circumstance. You're an active agent in your own life. The outcome is no longer the measure of success. The quality of your effort is. As Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. This is incredibly liberating. It frees you from the burden of trying to manage the entire universe. Your job becomes much simpler and way more effective. Handle your choices with wisdom and character. When you truly get this, the noise of overthinking starts to fade, replaced by a quiet, focused confidence. We're moving through some powerful ideas here, and if you're already feeling a small crack of light in the mental fog, the next few secrets will be even more transformative. These aren't just theories, they're practical tools for a better life. If you're getting value from this and want to continue building a mindset of clarity and resilience, take a second to subscribe. We're building a community of clear thinkers applying ancient wisdom to modern problems, and I'd be honored to have you with us. Section 5. Do less, but what matters. Our hyper-connected world screams at us to do more. More projects, more side hustles, more socializing, more growth. This constant pressure creates a frantic internal monologue, a to-do list that fuels anxiety and makes our minds feel cluttered and chaotic. This is the perfect environment for overthinking to thrive. The Stoics, and especially Emperor Marcus Aurelius, offered a radical counter-proposal that serves as our fifth secret. Do less, but do what is essential. In his Meditations, he wrote, "Since the greatest part of what we say and do is unnecessary, dispensing with such activities affords a man more leisure and less uneasiness." He argued that peace of mind comes not from doing more, but from doing what's necessary, better. This isn't an argument for being lazy. It's an argument for ruthless prioritization. It's about learning to tell the difference between being busy and being essential. So much of our mental clutter comes from overcommitment. We say yes to too many things that don't align with our values, filling our days with trivial tasks that give the illusion of productivity but add nothing to our well-being. Our minds then spin, trying to keep track of it all. Simplifying your life is a direct path to quieting your mind. When you remove the non-essential, you create the mental space you need for clear, focused thought. You stop spreading your energy thin and can invest it deeply in the few things that truly matter. So how do we actually do this? First, audit your commitments. Look at your work, your social life, your daily habits. For everything, ask the question Marcus Aurelius posed. Is this necessary? Be brutally honest. Are you going to that meeting out of obligation or because it's truly essential? Are you scrolling social media or doing something that genuinely enriches your life? Second, learn the power of saying no. Every yes to something non-essential is a no to something that could bring you peace or purpose. Saying no isn't selfish, it's a strategic act of self-preservation. You're taking control of your time and energy. Third, define what is essential for you. This takes some self-reflection. What are your core values? What activities line up with them? For you, it might be your health, your family, or your creative work. Once you know what's essential, you have a filter for every other decision. Everything else is just noise that you can safely ignore. By choosing simplicity over excess, you're not depriving yourself. You're trading trivial distractions for deep focus and tranquility. You're decluttering not just your calendar, but your mind. Section 6. Write down and question. Your worries, our anxieties often feel like an intangible, swirling fog. They're vague, shapeless, and all-encompassing, which is what makes them so paralyzing. As long as a worry stays in your head, it can seem infinitely large and impossibly complex. The sixth Stoic secret gives us a concrete tool to fight this fog, the simple act of writing. The Stoics were huge on journaling. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations was never meant to be published. It was his private journal, a place where he could untangle his thoughts and challenge his fears. They understood that getting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper is one of the best ways to gain some distance and clarity. When an anxious thought is trapped in your mind, it operates on an emotional level. But when you write it down, you force that shapeless feeling into concrete words. That act alone starts to shift you from your emotional brain to your rational one. The worry is no longer a part of you. It's an object outside of you that you can actually examine. Here's how to use journaling as a weapon against overthinking. The next time you feel trapped in a worry loop, grab a piece of paper. At the top, write down the worry in one clear sentence. For example, I'm worried I will bomb my presentation and everyone will think I'm incompetent. Now, underneath that, become your own rational counselor. Start a dialogue with that worry. Use a structured approach like this. 1. Analyze the evidence. Write down all the evidence for this worry. Then write down all the evidence against it. You might realize you've given good presentations before, or that your colleagues are generally supportive. 2. Rationalize the fear. If you worry about never being financially secure, write it down. Then remind yourself on paper that financial stability comes from consistent actions you can control, like saving, budgeting, and developing skills, not from sheer luck. 3. Define the worst-case scenario. Write down the absolute worst thing that could happen. If you fail the presentation, what then? You might feel embarrassed for a day. Your boss might give you some critical feedback. Is that really a catastrophe? Often seeing the worst-case scenario in black and white reveals how survivable it actually is. 4. Create an action plan. For the parts of the worry you can control, write down one small, concrete step you can take right now. For the presentation worry, it might be, I will practice my opening for 15 minutes. This shifts your energy from passive worrying to active problem solving. This isn't just venting, it's structured, rational reflection. You're using the journal as a lab to test your thoughts. With practice, you train your mind to stop accepting anxious thoughts at face value. The fog of anxiety begins to lift, replaced by the clear light of reason. Section 7. Control your response to events. And that brings us to our final secret, the one that ties all the others together. It's the ultimate goal of Stoic practice and the bedrock of a calm mind. While we can't control most external events, we always, without exception, control our response. Life is going to throw challenges at you. There will be difficult people, unexpected setbacks, and disappointments. These things are not the source of your suffering. The source of suffering is an uncontrolled, emotional, and irrational response to these things. As Marcus Aurelius put it, the only way a person can truly be harmed is to allow their reaction to harm them. The overthinking mind is a reactive mind. It reacts to a small setback like it's a catastrophe. It reacts to uncertainty with panic. It reacts to criticism with defensiveness or self-doubt. It's a slave to outside triggers. The Stoic mind, in contrast, is a responsive mind. It builds an inner citadel, a fortress of calm and reason that outside events can't touch. This fortress is built with the 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism. 1. Wisdom. The ability to see things clearly, as they are. This is what you practice when you test your impressions and separate what you can and can't control. 2. Courage. This isn't just physical bravery. It's the moral courage to face challenges head-on instead of letting them fester in your mind. It's the courage to do the right thing, even when it's hard. 3. Justice. This means acting with integrity and fairness toward others. When you live a life of justice, your mind is free from the turmoil of guilt and regret, which are major fuels for overthinking. 4. Temperance. This is simply self-control. It's the ability to not overreact to every little thing. It's the discipline to resist impulsive thoughts, creating that crucial pause between stimulus and response. Building these virtues is the work of a lifetime, but it starts with small, daily choices. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you can react with rage, or you can respond with temperance and let it go. When you get critical feedback, you can react defensively, or you can respond with wisdom, looking for the kernel of truth you can learn from. By consciously choosing to respond with virtue, you are taking your power back. You're declaring that your inner peace will not be dictated by the chaos of the outside world. You stop being a leaf blown about by the wind and become a deeply rooted tree. The winds will still blow, but they will no longer have the power to uproot you. This is the ultimate secret to quieting your mind. It's the understanding that peace isn't the absence of problems, but the presence of a virtuous, rational response to them. Conclusion. So, we've walked through 7 ancient secrets, each one a tool designed to dismantle the machinery of overthinking. We learned to cage our worries with a time limit. We learn to disarm fear by courageously looking at the worst. We learn to act as detectives for our own thoughts, putting every negative impression on trial. We found freedom in focusing only on what we can control. We embraced the power of doing less, but doing what's essential. We turned our anxieties into objects of study by writing them down. And finally, we understood that our ultimate power lies in controlling our response to the world. These aren't quick fixes, they're practices. They are the daily exercises you do to build what the Stoics called an inner citadel, a fortress of tranquility and resilience inside your own mind. The cycle of overthinking might feel like an inescapable part of who you are, but it's not. It's a mental habit. And like any habit, it can be broken and replaced with a better one. The path to a quiet mind isn't a path of emptiness, but one of purpose. It's about clearing out the mental clutter so you can focus your energy on living a life of action and meaning. It's about realizing, as Marcus Aurelius did, that nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. That retreat isn't something you find, it's something you build. With these 7 secrets as your blueprint, you have everything you need to start building today.